to be able to take those spores. But we are going to get started. Let's see Justin lead off with the Raging Bolt and the Chi-Yu. Victor go for the more tried and tested Calyrex Shadow Rider and that Incineroar.
Should be a lot of fun here. It's a very aggressive lead kind of for Justin, even though we don't see either of the restricted Pokemon. We do see a lot of potential damage from these two Pokemon, and it's kind of a cool spot, right, where how aggressively do you want to play it? Do you try and like maybe go for an attack with these Pokemon? You assume Groudon's hiding in the back there with the opportunity to kind of switch into battle and activate Drought. So hey, if you call it, you could do a lot of damage by either activating Raging Bolt's ability or increasing the fire damage to the Chi-Yu, but also dangerous to their side. You don't want to make it easier for that Calyrex to get going, and then Incineroar is very threatening with its support moves.
Yeah, and that's the thing where the Chi-Yu has the option to go for that Terastallization. You burn it really early on, but you can avoid that Fake Out potentially coming into that slot from the Incineroar, and then go for those big, powerful Snarls, maybe Dog Pulse into that Calyrex. But we are just seeing the Protect here. Victor wanted to scout out what the Chi-Yu locks into, and it will be that Heat Wave. Incineroar not really going to worry about that too much. A resisted hit, of course, so going to be able to return back with a choice of its own. But the Thunderbolt coming into that slot, and big damage, and the Paralysis on top. So Justin really taking the opportunity when it is presented. Get some big damage onto this supporting Pokemon. But the parting shot able to come out, no paralysis this time, getting a nice bit of chip onto the Chi-Yu, just lowering that special attack, which is going to be all important to getting around this really threatening Pokemon. And it looks like the Smeagol going to be entering the field. Another Pokemon with that active Fake Out, going to be able to maybe use it this time. It wasn't utilized on the Incineroar the turn before because of the options maybe there that were maybe going to let it fail.
Yeah, Moody not doing too much there at the reduced defense not going to matter against these special attacking Pokemon, and neither will the special attack boost. Victor locking it pretty quickly here, kind of cycling in. Didn't get such a great trade in the first turn, but now going to see if he can perhaps get in a position to start getting some boosts on this Calyrex, because it is a very Calyrex-based composition that we see from him.
Well, we talked about the jump bluff, and now it does enter the field as the Chi-Yu leaves once more. And just a Protect all around here from the Raging Bolt. The Calyrex going for a Protect again itself, and the Smeagol going for the Spore. But really nice switch there from Justin to be able to get that Pokemon in that has that immunity to it. And again, not really a useful Moody boost there with that special attack. It's not going to be too handy this time around.
Yeah, 4 levels of increased special attack there. Unfortunately, Smeagol feeling special, but not able to show everyone how special that it is. Great switch there, avoiding the Spore, and now we're sort of in an interesting situation where you're theoretically threatening an Encore and 2 moves that maybe you don't want to get locked into, but if Smeagol will have the option of taking a Follow Me in order to try to avoid getting the poor Calyrex locked into Encore and the Protect.
Well, it is the Groudon that comes to the field, and with it, we'll bring that Drought ability, summoning the Sun and activating that Chlorophyll ability, and the Encore coming out. No Follow Me from the Smeagol, punishing that Calyrex. It will be locked into the Protect for the foreseeable future.
Perhaps trading a Spore for that?
Maybe for that, yes. Probably a worthwhile one, because now you can maybe switch that Groudon out of the field, get something a little bit more effective that can come in, and maybe utilize that jump bluff now to go for the Spore into the Smeagol.
Yeah, kind of a tough match for restricted Pokemon here. Calyrex going to have to leave battle, but at least, you know, hasn't been too... Well, you really don't have to switch it out here, but instead on Justin Tang's side of the field as well, you would see the sleeping Groudon. So, you know, the restricted Pokemon is sleep. There's 2 very offensively gifted, non-restricted Pokemon there with the Raging Bolt and the Chi-Yu, but we'll have to see how Justin tries to play this. Do you slow play it, try to leave the Groudon out, maybe eat some sleep turns so that later in the match, Groudon can do something offensively? You know, don't want it just to be bait for Calyrex later on if you can avoid it.
Well, to not leave it a sitting duck on the field, it does leave, and in place of it will come out the Incineroar. We'll be able to drop an Intimidate, which would be quite useful onto the Groudon if that does stick around on the field for Justin, and lowering that physical damage coming out. The Encore coming out from the jump bluff now into the Smeagol, and really shutting that option down for the foreseeable, as it is going to be locked into Spore. Not really effective, especially into a sleeping Pokemon like Groudon and the jump bluff. And the big important thing here is that Groudon does take a guaranteed sleep turn, so the next turn does have the chance to wake up. But the interesting thing with the Smeagol is it's got +4 in its speed now. That's 2 speed boosts it's had, so it is going to be maybe outspeeding that jump bluff now, potentially.
Yeah, sure to get the chance to attack, right? This Spore is going to fail because Groudon can't wake up yet, but now it's a threat you have to deal with, right? You don't want to risk having Groudon wake up and get slept again. So the Sleep Powder is going to go down and put this Smeagol to sleep, but we've already seen this Incineroar lock in a Flare Blitz, and I don't think Jump Bluff's going to like that at all.
Not at all, and with that cover cloak, it hasn't got that security blanket of the Sash, so if it is targeted like we see here, it will be going down, boosted by the Sun, and an easy knockout, and Victor able to take down one of those big disruptive threats on Justin's side, while the Groudon, is it going to wake up? Is it not? We'll have to wait and see, but it is going to pressure whatever comes back onto the field, because the Calyrex in the back of Victor still asleep, and another Moody boost, a defense boost here as well. This Smeagol's getting all the right boosts right now.
Yeah, now it's a sort of a delicate spot where neither of Justin's remaining Pokemon have any way to avoid being put to sleep by that Spore, so you really have to hope that Groudon wakes up at some point. It has been intimidated, so it's not quite the setup you're looking for maybe if you're trying to get Calyrex in, so we're not going to see it quite yet, but yeah, Smeargle, it's been an awkward spot. It's kind of been pinned down by the jump off the whole time, but it's sort of controlling the battlefield.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, as soon as the Smeagol does wake up, if it can get through these sleep turns, it is going to be a real disruptive force for Victor to be able to put a real pin on Justin, because you can automatically just put the Groudon back to sleep. You can put that Raging Bolt to sleep. You don't really need to worry about those threats. And then when you've got the restricted next to it, that's going to be able to constantly go for these body presses like we're seeing now from the Zamazenta. It's going to be a real hard Pokemon to deal with. We are going to see the Thunderbolt now from the Raging Bolt into that Smeagol. It is going to take it down to its sash, so all we need now is Justin's Groudon to potentially wake up here this next turn, get an attack off, but that Encore has ended. And another speed boost for the Smeagol with that Moody.
Yeah, the Smeagol saw Meowth driving that car earlier in the trailer. It's like, you know what, I can go pretty fast too. I don't even need a car.
We just needed to wake up this next turn. If it does, it can prevent that Raging Bolt from being effective, but the Groudon now will wake up. We've had that 3 guaranteed sleep turns, so we know what's coming out. The Groudon is going to be able to go for an attack, potentially remove the Smeagol, which is going to be a big aid to Justin. We see the body press come out again, and it's a critical hit. It's a huge knockout. You would have thought from the original damage that it would have been able to take that, but no. Victor capitalizing on the position with the body press and removing the Groudon.
Oh, that's a huge problem. Not only that, but the sun's also going to wear off this turn, going to reduce the damage of both the Raging Bolt and the Chiyu's attacks, and suddenly things are looking pretty bleak here. Smeagol's going to have a chance to wake up for this next turn, and the speed boost made it really threatening, right? Where perhaps Raging Bolt wouldn't have needed to bother targeting without those speed boosts, and it could have ended up with a little different situation here, and that critical hit, would have likely led to a situation where without it, the Smeagol maybe would have got knocked out, the Zamazenta would have been weakened, and now it's tough. Justin Tang down to 2 Pokemon. Without Groudon getting preserved there, Chiyu's going to have to lock into one move for the rest of the game, and Victor's looking like he might get an advantage here in this first game of the set.
Yeah, especially with that Shadow Rider Calyrex at the back. If you can kind of deal with that Chiyu in an effective way before the Calyrex comes back in, it's going to have an easier time close this matchup. So it's all about this Smeagol now. If this Smeagol wakes up, can really disrupt with the Spore into either one of these targets on just the side of the field, it can be the difference to swing the game. We are just seeing a Protect from the Zamazenta here. Just wants to check out what this Chiyu locks into, but before that, we are going to see a all-important Spore. The Smeagol wakes up into the Raging Bolt, and now that Pokemon will be sleeping for the next turn at least. And it is the overheat that the Chiyu locks into in that Zamazenta, so we know what single target attack, which is actually pretty big information now that you know you've got that Calyrex in the back and there's no threat of those dark type attacks.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of terrible on a few levels too, right? Where I think when you locked into overheat with only 2 Pokemon remaining like this, you have no way to reset your special attack. And the Smeagol only has 1 hit point, but now Chiyu's going to have to use overheat this turn. So a Follow Me would allow it to reduce special attack by 2 levels just to take the 1 HP of damage. Justin realizing, okay, there's no way I'm getting out of this one. And we see a very strange game, but a pretty decisive win by Victor in the end.
Yeah, and really kind of dictated by the Moody boost and how powerful that ability could be. And I don't want to just give all the credit to Smeagol and Moody, but it did have a big sway in that game in allowing the Smeagol to be in a position where they didn't really have to worry about maybe the items like that Choice Scarf on the Chiyu when it came into battle. And Victor did get the wake up at the right time.
And a little bit, there's some team construction dub there too. Or I think one of the things that Smeagol kind of just realized, like, hey, maybe over the course of the tournament, you're going to get a game or 2 where Smeagol kind of just takes it for you, right? It's one of the benefits you get for having Smeagol on your team. The trade-off there is a Pokemon providing 0 offense, and some games maybe you'll have the reverse where your speed drops a few times and you can't win situations that you're supposed to be able to. That one, Smeagol does a great job, but I think Victor just plays it really well too, where the first few Moody boosts were not beneficial for this Smeagol, right? But it was able to stay on the field for so long because Justin wasn't really able to do anything about it, but it got enough rolls. Eventually you can get that speed boost. Moody does increase the stat, it increases by 2 levels, where it only reduces the stat by 1. So, in theory, Smeagol staying in the field for 100 turns or whatever, it's going to max out all of its stats. Just happened to get speed a little more quickly than the others this time.
And I think the thing is as well, the body press critical hit probably did matter there because
that
the
too,
ground
yes.
would have made it. But we'll see if there are any adjustments as we get into game 2 here. And it looks like Justin is leading out with the Raging Bolt, the Chi-Yu, and Victor staying with the tried and tested Calyrex Shadow Rider and the Incineroar.
I'm not too shocked to see no adjustments from just inside of the field there. While he lost that first game, you probably feel like, hey, if the rolls had gone a more statistically probable way, maybe I could have won that one anyway. If we think back to the first game, there was that big double target on the Incineroar, right? Where at first Justin had the luck where he got the paralysis on the Thunderbolt, but even the combination of the 2 attacks not enough. This time Calyrex going to go for an attack on this first turn.
We do see the fake out into the Chi-Yu. No terrestrialization and followed up with a big Astral Barrage from this Calyrex. Is it going to be enough to get the Raging Bolt?
No.
It is. That is a huge knockout onto the Raging Bolt before it can even move. And the Chi-Yu going to be stuck, flinched by that fake out, and a Grimnir boost already from this Life Orb boosted Calyrex.
I think noteworthy there is that you're probably like, oh no, another critical hit, but no, that did not show up there. That was non-critical hit damage, very offensively oriented Raging Bolt. We saw the benefits of that last game. We're doing an incredible amount of damage to the Incineroar, but this time taking an incredible amount of damage from that Calyrex. That's a really big knockout here, and quickly Justin Tang is in trouble, in danger of getting that first loss of the tournament.
Yeah, and this is an awkward position as well. When the Chi-Yu's on the field, you can just go for the protect like you're seeing now to see what it locks into, and that's exactly what Victor does with the Calyrex. As we see the Heat Wave locked into, not going to be, once again, very effective into this Incineroar. Going to take minimal damage, but now has to contend with the Groudon that's on the field, and it is a high horsepower following that up. No Intimidate onto the Groudon here, and it is going to be able to remove the Incineroar, but this opens the door for Victor to just bring something more preferable onto the field to support this Calyrex.
Yeah, Smeargle perhaps being able to come in and help support. I mean, that does the type matchup here is truly awful, although the wide guard support would be beneficial. The Chi-Yu is locked into a spread move. Going to be Smeargle instead. And one thing to keep in mind as well, that Chi-Yu model is dishing out all of this damage. Its ability is also hurting a little bit, right? Perhaps increasing the damage from Calyrex on its partner Pokemon. I think is probably necessary in the knockout we saw the first turn. And now with the boosted level of special attack as well for this Calyrex, Groudon does not want to get hit by another Astral Barrage, Assault Vest, or no.
No, especially after the boost, like you say. But Chi-Yu wanting to get out of the fray, it is switching out, and just making a bit of an adaptation. The Jumpluff going to make its way onto the field now. Terrestrialization going to be locked in from one of our players. It will be into the Groudon here. The Groudon going to have that fire type terrestrialization, boosting those fire type attacks. It does have the Heat Crash. It could be quite threatening if we don't see a follow me from the Smeargle, especially if it's into this Calyrex. We are going to see the wide guard though. What does the Groudon lock into? If it's that Precipice Blades, it is not going to land this turn. And the Astral Barrage in return, not boosted by that Beat of Rune anymore. Now the Chi-Yu's off the field.
Oh no!
Huge damage and a massive critical hit into the Groudon. So unfortunate for Justin, but Victor really clutching and taking advantage of the opportunities that are being presented.
That's tough. That time we do see the critical hit, and I'm certain that critical hit did matter there. We don't get to see what Justin locked into. You'd assume with the fire terrestrialization that was probably a Heat Crash that would perhaps have knocked out that Calyrex in a single blow. So maybe would have been a really nice turn by Justin to turn the game around. Instead, it's going to look like a pretty decisive 2-0 lead for Victor here. I don't know how these poor Pokemon are going to be able to battle back from this deficit.
No, it feels almost impossible at this point, doesn't it? I mean, you've got the Jumpluff here. It is going to be the fastest thing on the field with that Sun Up, with the Chlorophyll. You can utilize that Sleep Powder, but the Smeargle could just go for the follow me here and just completely protect the Calyrex. You've still got to be careful around the Snarl, and maybe that's why we see the wide guard.
It's like maybe a single target in the Smeargle, like an Encore in the Calyrex. You get stuck at the last two Pokemon. Be a Sleep Powder instead, so potentially even better. But we'll have to see what the Chi-Yu opts to do here.
It is going to be the Heat Wave that it locks into, and it is just going to be into the Protect. Does it land with the Smeargle? It looks like it will just be into the Protect there for the wide guard that does give that full protection, and a Handshake is coming across. Astral Barrage coming out, and it will be enough to pick up the knockout on both these Pokemon. This is such a quick turnaround and a very, very convincing win from Victor Medina.
I mean, that's just what you see sometimes in this format, right? The power of these Pokemon is so overwhelming, and one little mess up, or in this case, a couple of tough rolls, and the game can snowball so hard. It's why Calyrex Shadow Rider has been the most used restricted Pokemon all season long, where if you give it an inch, it takes a mile.
Yeah, and I think in particular, when we're not talking about